Last one of the day. All right. I promise I won't use the full 18 minutes. Maybe I will. I don't know. What we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about social networks, the importance of social networks, the importance of the brick and mortar locations, the importance of meeting and greeting and touching and talking to the people that you actually get to see. But before we do that, who has one of these? It's an extension of yourself. Show it to me. This is you. This is part of you. I'm going to offer you the most liberating experience of the day. On top, your foot models may vary. It has a power button. Hit it. There's a little one that says sleep, power off. Hit power off. This will be the most liberating experience of the day, and I'll tell you why later. It may make sounds because it's disgruntled and doesn't like you to do that. It may get lonesome over here, I assure you. Yep, see, it's making the sounds right now. Turn them off if you got a chance. You don't have to, but I am offering you some freedom from it. Now take just a second here. World hasn't ended. We're okay. Sun's still shining, even great. But here's the important part of it. Now, as you communicate with people in this room, as you sit and talk to the people next to you as we socialize this next hour, you know that that person is not going to be distracted by 140 characters of nonsense from somewhere. You know there's not going to be a pressing email or a pressing phone call or something that requires their immediate attention. It is now time to talk. It's time to discuss. And I would encourage you, as long as you can tolerate it, challenge yourself. As long as you can tolerate it, leave it off. Let's talk. Let's discuss these ideas. Leave it off. What I am going to talk about today is the importance of the brick and mortar locations, of what if social networks have to have a heart. The social networks, the Twitters, the Foursquares, the Facebooks of the world didn't just appear. These weren't new concepts. The intense desire to share and converse and talk and understand people is not unique to the fact that they live online. That is a relatively new concept. Rural America knows that more than anybody else. We understand the idea of talking to people. We understand the idea of interacting with people. We enjoy people at the end of the day. So what I'm going to challenge you today is to appreciate the importance of these interactions, to slow down and think about these interactions. Yes, on Twitter, I'm sure we have thousands of followers. A single 140-character message, we could instantly interact with thousands of people on a very superficial level, and we can do that hundreds, if not thousands of times a day. It's easy. But what's the depth of that? What emotion can you convey in 140 characters? Minus emoticons. What can I actually make you feel? What can I compel you to do in 140 characters? Hit the thumbs up button? What's that done? What I'm here to talk about is the importance of the locations, of the place-based social networks. Human interaction is really more than just the ideas being conveyed. It's more than just the words that I'm saying to you. It's the method and the way I say it. It's your smile when you talk to me about your kids. It's your frown when you talk to me about the bad day. It's the look of joy when you talk to me about a test or an exam. That's communication. Not just what you're saying, how you're saying it, who you're saying it to. That's what communication is, and that's what is so important in our rural communities. My presentation is why does every small town have a bar? And that's probably maybe a bit short, a bit narrow-sighted. I think what I'm really going to talk about is why are these places, why are these communities involved and revolved around these small places where people congregate, where people gather. Where I grew up, of course we had a series of bars as well, but the place that seemed to have the most communication was the morning cafe. I think my father got his news there. He probably on many occasions found out what I had done the days before. But that's where that's where friends were made. That's where deals were struck. That's where partnerships were made. It doesn't have to be a cafe. It could be a pub. It could be a library. It could be the student unions. It could be the commons. This is where we come together. This is where we come together to share ideas. Why do these places work? Why does news, good and bad, spread like wildfire from these? Why is it so easy to know that there's one place that all the information is? It's because this is tangible. You can relate to it. You can feel it. You don't just scroll past it. Somebody tells you the story. It's a tangible experience. Let's talk about the place itself. Most of the time, the place actually dictates the atmosphere of the place dictates if it can be a social media hub, a center of social media. Most of the places, as I think through my history of the little corner gas stations or the cafes or the pubs, they were all small, all locally owned, all independent. Very seldom did people get together at the large chain restaurant or the large retail big box store. They got together where they knew the owner. They got together where they knew the people that worked there. Most of these places are small, local, and independent. The other really critical item is that there was no requirement to be at these places. Sure, you'll share news at home and you'll share news at work, but this place you go to for no purpose. Maybe to have a beer, maybe to have a donut, maybe to have a slice of pie, maybe to have a Nick's hamburger. These places were so critical to the community because they were free to go to. Everybody could go there. Everybody was welcome there. The other element that makes them very important is that they're a universal leveler. Think about the barbershops. How many people have gotten the stories in the news sitting in the barber's chair? Why is this possible? Why can I sit in a barber's chair? Why can anybody sit in his barber's chair and have a bank executive next to a pizza delivery guy and talk? This doesn't happen. This doesn't happen on the bus. This doesn't happen on these other places. But these place-based social networks, that takes place because there's a universal leveler. If you're all sitting having a haircut, if you're sitting down having a coffee, if you're sitting down having a pint, it becomes a universal leveler, and that is key. That is key to true social interaction, is the removal of classes, the removal of pretense, and just being able to, let's just sit and talk. Let's have a discussion. I've got an idea. Let's see where this goes. Conversation is also the main part of these establishments. Of course, there's the local movie theater, but conversation doesn't take place there. These establishments have to put a premium on conversation. They love conversation. Think about the places your dad or mom or grandpa went to. If you were to walk in from college, there would always be witty banter. There would always be witty banter. How about them jackrabbits? How about them coyotes? Or not. But there's always witty banter, and it was privilege. The locals there, and that's the next point, there's always a local there. There's always somebody there that embodies the spirit of the place. Whether it be the 15-year-old dog sitting at the front as you greet into the barber shop, or old Harry who's in the corner who always seems to have a never-ending cup of coffee. The locals are what makes this. The locals are what makes the spirit of the establishment. They sometimes would even call it their feel. Locals and the employees, but the locals that are there actually are more important than the wallpaper, more important than the color. They add more character to a place. When you travel outside of the state or outside of the region, when you ask a hotel, when you stay at a hotel, the first thing you ask is never, where can I find the next really big box store and get the same thing that I can get on any other interstate? Would imagine most of you don't ask that. You ask the young gal or guy there working there, said, what's local? What do you have here? What helps me understand who you are? What food do you have? What drink do you have? What events do you have? What attractions do you have? What makes you you? And they'll usually point you in the right direction to the local bar, cafe, barbershop. That's who we are. So maybe we've done enough to define the place. I think overall it has to be comfortable, and it has to feel like home. You have to walk into the hole-in-the-wall gumbo shop in New Orleans and feel like you belong there, feel like you're welcome there. But let's maybe discover a little bit more on why these are so important to our local communities and why in rural South Dakota we have these places and we've seen them disappear in the larger cities. The most troubling part is that as cities begin to grow, we have a tendency, people have a tendency as city planners to decide that certain areas of town really are for certain parts. This area is for housing. This area will be a box store, and over past the tracks, we may put a retail center. The problem with this zoning mentality is that we've removed a lot of the spirit out of communities. Now you have a place where the only function that you perform in your neighborhood is sleeping and mowing the lawn, potentially. But then you never know your neighborhood. You never know your neighbors. I know my neighbors, my next door neighbors. I don't know neighbors 3 down the street because I don't interact with them. We don't have a corner grocery. We don't have a common place that we meet and greet. So as cities grow and as we get this vast expanse of suburbs, we are killing. We are strangling the ideas of these small community shops. So rural America is privileged because this doesn't happen. You can get in the car, and many of you come from small towns. You can get in the car, and the same place you buy your gas is the same place you grab your donut, is the same place you grab your newspaper, and there very well may be a sign-up board for the basketball team. This is what makes rural America. These small shops, the accessibility to these small shops is what makes rural America. We don't have commute time. We have community time. I'm going to leave you with a couple calls to action here, things that I really want you to take away. We've defined what this is, but as you walk out of here, here's what I want you to take away. Here's what I want you to feel compelled to do. Patron these places. Go to your hometowns. Go to the places that define who you are, whether it be Brookings or Mitchell or Lake Preston or Watertown. Go to the places that you know define who they are and thank them. We had a talk earlier today that sometimes the best things aren't compelled just for the pure economics of it. Sometimes it's compelled because of the community development. There's a lot of small business owners that have made great sacrifices to become these places, to make these places available to you, your children, and their following children. This is who they are. This is how they define who they are, and this is how they believe their city should be seen. A lot of these places, even as you patron them, become a patron of theirs, they do offer goods and services. I would caution you on one account, though. Just because there's free Wi-Fi or other things in coffee shops, don't forget the purpose we're here. Turn your phones off. Turn your computers off. Don't let it just be a telecommute location for you to plug back in online, sit and talk. The baristas there, I'm sure, have fantastic stories. The cafe servers, the waitresses, the bartenders, anybody working behind the counter, if you were to ask, I'm sure they would give you a fantastic story of how they came to be here, where they plan on going. If you are a business owner, if you're somebody who wants to create one of these places, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. All too often do we see these little stores disappear. It's not easy. It's not easy. Don't hesitate to make one of the number one things that you can give your customers is a real sense of ownership, but not just a sense. Let your customers be your owners. Let them tell you what they want. Make them feel like they're part of the decision process. Let them bring their family, their ties, their life to you and appreciate it. Customers that walk through the door are not just human beings looking for service. They're souls. They have names. Use them. Use their names. Find their names. You're not here just to provide. You're not here just to provide a service. You're here to promote a community. There's an understanding of the two different types of customers that really can walk through any type of retail establishment. And I would imagine as you've shopped, you would fall into one of these categories at any time, not always in one. But there's two types of customers that exist. One is a transactional customer, a customer that comes in because you have a good or service they would like to purchase. That good or service is at a more competitive rate. It's cheaper than somebody down the street. They will walk through your door, they will find a special, they will shop, they will find it, and then they will leave. That's a transactional customer. Not a bad customer, but it fails in comparison to the second. That's a relational customer. A customer that comes to you because you know that they will take care of you. You know you'll be truthful, honest, give them a fair price, a fair deal, and a fair handshake on all of it. These are Midwestern customers. These are the customers you want. This is how the business you have to promote. So by committing yourself to transactional customers, you've committed yourself to providing services above and beyond. If you're going to enter a competitive marketplace, add value, add community, add spirit, add life to your establishment. Do not go down the path where you think you can win just by cutting cost and just by removing value and making an homogenized product. That's how these small businesses fail, when they lack character. When they lack character and they try to compete just on a cost-only relationship. You may have a lot of customers that walk through your door that are transactional. Some say almost 75% of your customers that walk through your door are transactional, coming to shop. 25, 1 in 4 are relational. But who keeps a place alive? The relational customers. The transactional customers will move on as soon as the new flyer comes out for the new deal down the street. The final thought I'll leave you with is that as you bring customers into your store, as you patron locations, make sure that the relationship between the patrons and the business owner develop. Be sure as a business owner or as a patron, you bring unifying conversation, never dividing conversation. Always be willing, is the great equalizer at these locations, to think about new ideas. I would imagine if you're all sitting here, or at least mildly open-minded to some new ideas and the excitement of the discussion, please make sure that always happens. Encourage those